when it comes to the white race versus the races that make up my family, the learning is that in the feeling, I would say more so the feeling, it's almost like feeling like you're in somebody's house, like, so if you're a white person and I'm in your house, I'm almost feeling like if I'm a representative of someone of color in this country, I feel like I'm in your house, and I've got, like, you've come home and my feet are on your coffee table, and like I'm breaking all the tribal rules of the house, and I don't realize it. But I think that's where the frustration comes from communities of color, is we're not looking at it like it's your house. We're looking at it like you built a house in someone else's house.
That's a good way to put it.
I think
but here's the thing, though, and I bring it back to those conversations with kids in classrooms. These kids, the kids that I've surveyed, that I've spoken with, they really believe that they came, like, this is their, so I can understand why they may feel and they may grow up in their world feeling like, man, I wish that person would go back to where they came from. I wish and so there, white people, and I was listening to, you guys know who Ta-Nehisi Coates are?
Yeah, I just got introduced to him.
So Ta-Nehisi writes some really interesting things, and I've heard a couple, and I'm not like a Ta-Nehisi Coates like follower or anything like that. But I listen, right? I listen, and I'm weighing out certain things that he said, and he mentioned something at a conversation, and I'll actually send it to you guys. I don't know if you happen to see anything online with him, but he was addressing a white student, college student, about using the N-word, and the girl, she was confused on why she can't use the N-word, because she was listening to Lil Uzi Vert, and Lil Uzi Vert's a rapper, and he sings a song and he says the N-word, and she's like, what's the big deal? Why can't I use the N-word? He's singing my favorite song. It's one of my favorite sons. I have black friends. I don't have anything wrong with black friends, but why can't I sing along, right? And that was kind of the gist of her question. And I thought his answer to her probably is the best answer I've heard to anyone addressing that question. And basically what he said was, words without context have no meaning. And he brought up the example of his wife. And, I don't know is this going to be said, is this going to be something played in church or?
Not actually.
Go for it.
It's online. Well,
I'm sorry, say that again.
It won't be played like in a sanctuary or anything, but it'll be on our website as far as I know. But you can say whatever you want to say.
Well, he was basically mentioning about how his wife, when she's with her girls, they call each other the B word, right? And they're joking around, and that's just what they do. And he mentioned how he never has a desire to participate and call his wife the B word like her friend, because that's not his relationship with his wife. That's her relationship with her girlfriends, right? And then he also mentioned an example of a white buddy of his that had a cabin up in upstate New York, and his buddy calls his cabin the white trash cabin. And he mentioned how, he said, you can stay there anytime, just let me know if you ever want to borrow the cabin, and blah, 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 right? Well, he mentioned, I would never call him and ask, can I borrow the white trash cabin this weekend, because of context, right? He doesn't have that kind of relationship. Now, his friend who's white can say that about his own cabin because he's white, right? And then he mentioned it. He talked about his LGBTQ community and people that he knew, and they call each other queers. They call each other, faggots, things like that. He said, I would never call him that because I'm not a part of the LGBT community, and so therefore it would be wrong to do. And so he transitioned that over to, the question. He said, the question you got to ask is, why do you even have the desire to want to use that word, right? And so that's where he had kind of went into, you know, and he thinks he knew why, right? He felt like white people are raised to feel like they can do anything, they can have anything, they can, you know, everything is at their access and reach. Whereas communities of color, specifically African American community, they know they don't have access to everything, right? And so they're already trained and taught that you can't do this, and there's certain things that you can't do because you are a person of color or you are a Black person in America, and this is something that you have to navigate. Getting back to my point of understanding how knowing where you come from and knowing your story helps that conversation. It helps how you come into a conversation, how you may look at somebody, how you may treat somebody by and large. Now, I'm not saying you guys specifically. I'm just saying, I think in general, right? If you're someone that is white and you understand that you also came by way of an immigrant at one point, right? Then you can't really have disparaging words towards immigrants, right? You can't do that, right? Because you can't curse and bless at the same time, you know, when we're talking about immigration, especially if you came from immigration. So that's the power of story. The power of story puts everybody on honest scales,